Shalom, his brother Kazak. First and foremost, I want to give all honor and glory to the Most High Yahweh. Mashiach, woman like Yahweh Shai, man. You know, that's Yahweh, who the world ignorantly calls God. And then his son, Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. You know, so, without further ado, this is going to be a quick, well, not a quick, but this is going to be a Revelation, the 12th chapter breakdown, through the spirit and power of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. So, we just gonna hop straight into it, man. So this is the book of Revelation, chapter 12, and verse 1. It says, "And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars." So who is that woman? That woman is the nation of Israel. How are we gonna understand that? We're gonna go to the book of Jeremiah. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 6, and verse 2. It says, "I have likened the daughter of Zion to a comely and delicate woman." So Israel is that woman that is talking about in this context, in Revelation 12. And it says this woman was clothed with the sun and moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. What is that sun and moon? That sun and moon is the wisdom and knowledge and understanding of the Lord, because that was given to the children of Israel. Pertaining to Psalms 147 and I believe 18 and 19. The law, statutes, and commandments, which is wisdom, is given to Israel. Let me get a precept on that to show. This is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7, and verse 28. It says, For God loveth none but him that dwelleth with wisdom. For she is more beautiful than the sun, and above all the odor of stars, being compared with the light, she is found before it. So that sun and that moon, and that the woman was clothed with, is wisdom. That's the knowledge. That's the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of the Lord. The law, statutes, and commandments. Let's get another precept on that. Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy. Let's lock it. Grab the pocket sword. Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4, and verse 5. It says, "Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me that ye shall do so in the land whether ye go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people." So our wisdom, that wisdom is the knowledge. Is the commandments that the Lord gave us. So back to Revelation. It says, I'm gonna read verse 1 again. It says, "And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars." Now we gotta figure out what those 12 stars are, man. Those 12 stars, those are the tribes of Israel. You know. Let's go to that. Let's go to the book of Genesis, chapter 37, and verse 9. This is Genesis 37 and 9 to prove that those 12 stars are the children of Israel, are the 12 tribes. It says, I'm gonna start at verse. Um, I'm gonna start at 5. I'm gonna start at 5, and then I'm gonna jump to 9. It says, "And Joseph, Joseph was was one of the Jacob's 12 sons. It says, "And Joseph dreamed a dream, and behold, it, and he told it his brethren, and they hated him yet more." So verse 9, this is the dream. It says, "And he dreamed yet another dream, and told it his brethren, and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more, and behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me." And I'm gonna keep going on that. He said the sun and the moon and the 11 stars. Meaning his mother, his father, and his 11 other brothers. It says, "And he told it to his father and to his brethren, and his father rebuked him and said unto him, What is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee, to the earth?" So that was a precept to show that that those 12 stars are the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. So we're gonna go to verse 2 now. Back to Revelation 12. It says, and she being with child cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered. Right? It says, and there, wait, Salakia, who is that child? You know, we gonna keep reading. We gonna understand who is that child as we keep reading. It says, but that child is Yahweh Shai. You know, it says there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his head. So who is that dragon? That dragon is the Roman Empire. You know, otherwise the nation of Esau. You know, they started off with Greek. I mean, they started off with Edom. You know, Greece, Rome. You know, all these different nations. These is Edomite nations, man. You know, that is the same as that great eagle that you read about in the second Esdras, the 11th and 12th chapter. You know, and it's the same as that is that beast. We gonna get a precept on that. Salakia, this is the book. This is the book of Daniel. This is the book of Daniel, chapter 7, to read about that great dragon. This is the book of Daniel, chapter 7, and mm, verse 7, right? It says, after this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly. Right? This is talking about the Roman Empire. You know, and it says, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it, and it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. So the Roman Empire, you know, they had it was a mighty nation. You know, they had a mighty army. You know, couldn't nobody stop them. That's why they came and devoured and conquered everybody that they came to that they crossed paths with. You know, it says Salakia, reading on in that verse, it says, and it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. So this is that same beast. Because we just read in Revelation 12 and 2, Salakia 12 and 3, that this great red dragon has 7 heads and 10 horns. What are those 7 heads? We gonna get to that. It says, Salakia, those 7 heads are are Greece, Rome, Spain, France, Germany, Russia, and Great Britain. Those are the 7 heads. Once again, that's Greece, Rome, Spain, France, Germany, Russia, and Great Britain. Those are the 7 heads of the Great Dragon. You know. Let's go back to the Salakia. Let's go back to the book of Revelations though. Salakia. Oh, and the 10 horns. Let me get the 10 horns for y'all. The 10 horns are Belgium, Denmark, Germany, Spain, France, uh, Great Britain, Netherlands, Ireland, Greece, and Slovakia. I believe I missed one. And I believe, did I say Denmark? Belgium, Denmark, Germany, Spain, France, Great Britain, Netherlands, Ireland, Greece, and I believe Italy. Yeah, Italy is that 10. Italy is that 10, right? So those are the 10 horns. Oh, Slovakia, Luxembourg. Luxembourg was the one I'm missing. Not Italy, but Luxembourg is Belgium, Denmark, Germany, Spain, France, Great Britain, Netherlands, Ireland, Greece, and Luxembourg. Those are the 10 horns, right? Slovakia. Kick my camera by mistake. But back to Revelation though. It says, I'm gonna read verse 3 again. That's Revelation 12 and 3. It says, and there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his head. Right? Let's go to the book of Revelation, chapter 17. Right? Just to prove again that this is the Roman Empire. I'm gonna start at 17 and verse 3. It says, and I'm gonna jump down. It says, so he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Right, and that scarlet-colored beast is that same great red dragon that we're reading about, Salakia, in Revelation chapter 12, and that same beast that we read about in Daniel 7 and 7 on down. You know, Salakia. I'm gonna jump down to verse 8. It says, "The beast that thou sawest was and is not." Meaning, what? How is this beast was and is not? Meaning, because the Roman Empire is no longer here. They fail. They fail. But what? They still here through America, because America is that little horn that came up through the Roman Empire. American is an essential. It's the revised Roman Empire. That's how we know it. America is the revised Roman Empire, right? It says, "The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit." And that bottomless pit is Europe. You know. So, like, yeah, let me grab a precept real quick. I'm gonna go to the book of, what did I want to grab? I believe that was. So, like, yeah, so, like, it just slipped my mind. Oh yeah, I'm gonna go to the book of First Maccabees, chapter 8, just to prove that America is an extension of Rome, just to show, they have the same characteristics, same type, same style of government. This is the book of First Maccabees, chapter 8, and verse 15. It says, "Moreover, they had made for themselves a senate house." This is speaking about the Roman Empire. How their governmental structure was. It says, "Moreover, they had made for themselves a senate house, right, wherein 320 men set in council daily, consulting always for the people, to the end they might be well ordered." America does the same thing. They have a senate house. They have the legislative branch, the executive branch and the judicial branch and all of that. All of these things are from the Roman Empire. All of these things derived from back then. There's no new thing under the sun, as it says in Ecclesiastes. So this is the America is the revised Roman Empire. The Roman Empire, this is the beast that was and is not. Meaning it was, meaning because it was there back then, but it is not because it's no longer here. But it yet is because it's still here through America. It's that same spirit. You know, um. So yeah, that's how you can prove. So, like, it says, and they that were and they that and that they committed their government to one man every year. Hey, that's the president. The government is committed to one man every year. That's the president, right? It says, "Who rule over all their country, and that all were obedient to that one, and that there was neither envy nor emulation among them." Right? So so, like, it, yeah. So that beast, that great red dragon, is talking about the Roman Empire back then. So I'm gonna go back to Revelation 12:3. It says, "And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his head. And his tail drew the third part, meaning completion, and his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it were born." So it says, when it says his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, let's talk about him bringing the Israelites into captivity. Right? Let's get a precept on that. We're gonna go to the book of Lamentations. Go to the book of Lamentations. Showing how when you get casted out of heaven, that's you. That's basically you being taken into captivity. You're losing your rulership. You're losing your royalty, basically. Let's go to the book of Lamentations, chapter 2. I believe that's what I want. Come on. This is the book of Lamentations, chapter 2, and verse 1. It says, "How hath the Lord covered the daughter of Zion with a cloud in his anger, and cast down from heaven unto the earth the beauty of Israel, and remembered not his footstool in the day of his anger." Right? So, hey, we was cast down from heaven, man. We was taken out of our rulership. The Lord knocked us off of that pedestal using these other nations, man. So that's what it means when the third part of the stars of heaven. We was cast down to the earth. We was taken out of power. Brought under subjection of the Roman Empire. It says, "And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it were born." And that child is Yahweh Shai, man. You know, and when it says that dragon, it's speaking about King Herod at this in this context because King Herod, you know, he was seeking, you know, he kind of knew the prophecies, you know, and he was seeking to slay Yahushai to kind of stop the prophecies, you know. Let's get that. Let's go to the book of Matthew, chapter 2. We'll go to the book of Matthew, chapter 2. And I believe verse 13. I'm going to start at verse 12. Yeah, I'm going to start at verse 12. Hold on. No, I'm going to start at this whole thing kind of crazy. Yeah, I'm going to start at verse 11. It says, and when they were come into the house, they saw the young child with Mary, his mother, and he fell down and worshipped him. And when they had opened their treasures, they presented unto him gifts, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And being warned of God in a dream that they should not return to Herod, they departed into their own country Salakia, their own country another way. Talk about the three wise men, right? Verse 13, it says, and when they were departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, arise and take the young child and his mother and flee into Egypt, and be thou there until I bring thee word, for Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. You know, because Herod was trying to stop the prophecy. He didn't want a king to be born in Judea like the prophecy like the prophecy said it would be. You know, to uh to take him out of power. You know, so Salakia. I'm gonna read that again. It's Matthew 2:13. It says, and when they were departed, behold, the angel of Yahweh appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, arise and take the young child and his mother and flee into Egypt, and be thou there until I bring thee word, for Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. Right? I'm gonna keep going on that. It says, when he arose, he took the young child and his mother by night and departed into Egypt, and he was there until the death of Herod, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken out of the Lord by the prophet, saying, out of Egypt have I called my son. Right? So let's go back to Revelation 12. We at verse 5 now. Revelation 12 and 5, it says, and she brought forth a man child who was to rule all nations with the rod of iron, and her child was caught up unto God and to his throne. You know, that's how we know this is talking about Yahushai. You know, because it's prophecy that Yahushai is coming, you know, and he's going to rule all nations, you know. Let's get a precept on that. Let's go to the book of Psalms, chapter 2, and verse 6. It says, this Psalms 2 and 6. It says, yet have I set my king upon my holy hill, O Zion. Speaking about Yahushai. It says, I will declare the decree. The Lord hath said unto me, thou art my son, this day have I begotten thee. Right? It says, ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. Right? Let's get another precept on that. So like it, let me keep going. It says, thou shalt break them with a rod of iron, thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. Right? So Yahushua, he's gonna rule over these nations with a rod of iron, man. You know, pertaining to Psalms 2 and 8 and 9, you know, pertaining to Revelation 2 and 25 on down, you know. We gonna get another precept on that. Let's go to the book of Daniel, chapter 2. You'll go to the book of Daniel, chapter 2, and I believe verse 44 or 42. Salakia. Verse 44. It says, and in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. You know, this is going to be Yahushai's kingdom. It says, which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to the other people, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, Salakia, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. That's talking about Yahushai's kingdom, man. You know, the kingdom of the Israelites, you know. Let me get another precept on that. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 11, and verse 15. It says, and the seventh angel sounded, And there were great voices in heaven saying, the kingdoms of this world are become the kingdoms of our Lord, and that's his Christ, and he shall reign forever and ever. You know, hey, plain upon tables, man. You know, plain upon tables. You know, so verse 6, back to Revelation 12, we have verse 6 now. It says, and the woman fled into the wilderness where she had the place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,203 days, right? So she fled into the wilderness. What is this talking about? This talking about us fleeing into Africa. Let's go and get that. You know, because Yahweh Shai, when he came, when he was on the scene, he gave us prophecy that, you know, so like he gave us prophecy that the Roman Empire will come down on us, that they will besiege Jerusalem, right? So let's go to the book of Luke. Luke chapter 21. Go to the book of Luke chapter 21 and verse 20, right? It says, and when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh, right? It says, then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains. This talk about 70 AD. You know, when we fled into the mountains, when we fled into Western Africa, you know, away from the Roman persecution. It says, then let them which are in Judea, so like you flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter therein too. You know? So it's talking about we fleed into the mountains, man. You know? So let me let's go back to Revelation chapter 12 and read verse 6 again. It says, and the woman fled into the wilderness, where she had a place prepared of the Most High, that they should feed her there 1,203 days. You know, what is that 1,203 days? You know, that's also times, and dividing of times. That's also 40 and 2 months. You know, and we go break that down through the Spirit. You know, how do we get 1,003 and 260 days? You know, it's just a disposition of time. You know, and how do we know that? So like, let me go to the precept where it says 40 and 2 months. So like, I believe that's Revelation 13. This Revelation 13 and 5. It says, and there was given unto him a mouth, speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 40 and 2 months. You know, you also read about this in the book of Daniel, 7 and 25. You know, so like it. Let's go to Daniel chapter 7 and 25. Then we go break down how do you break down the 40 and 2 months, or the times, and dividing the times. So like I'm just using my smaller sword. This is the book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 25, right? It says, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and dividing of time. Right? So time 360, you know, times, which is I believe 720, and dividing of times, which is 180, adds up to 1,200. So like your 1,260 days, right? So we're going to break down how we get that through the Spirit. First, you got to go to the book of Genesis, right? Go to the book of Genesis. And Genesis chapter 7. And I'm going to start at verse 11. It says, in the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, the 17th day of the month. So in the second month, the 17th day of the month, right? It says, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were open, right? So now we're going to jump down to Genesis chapter 7 and 24. It says, and the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days. So 150 days. Keep that in mind. So from the 7th month, from the 17th day of the second month, you know, 150 days, plus 150 days after that, we end up in the 7th month, right? So we go prove that by jumping to chapter 8, and I'm gonna start at verse 4. It says the ark rested in the seventh month, on the 17th day of the month, right? So 5 months later, it says upon the mountains of Ararat, and the waters decreased continually until the 10th month. So like it. So that fourth verse is what I wanted. It says, and the ark rested in the seventh month, on the 17th day of the month, upon the mountains of Ararat, right? So from the second month, the 17th day, and it says the waters in verse 24, chapter 7, verse 24. It says the waters were upon the earth 150 days, and that landed us into the seventh month. So all you have to do is divide 150 by Salakia. You divide 150 by 5. Salakia. Yeah, you divide 150 by 5 and you get 30. This tells us that it's 30 days in a month, right? And then so when you go to the 40 and 2 months, when you go to the 40 and 2 months, you do 30 times 42, and you get what? 1,260 days. That's time times and divided no time, right? So we gonna go back to Revelation chapter 12 and Salakia. Salakia real quick. I might have another precept. Let me see. Oh, nah. We can keep going. This is Revelation 12 and 7. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the Salakia. Bear with me. Satan trying to take away the word. But this Revelation 12 and 7, it says, and there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, right? So where else can we read about this? Is this talking about the actual spirit? Is this talking about the actual spirit world, or the fourth dimension as we call it in the truth, man? This is not talking about up there where the Most High dwelling at. First off, it's order up there. Let's prove that it's order up there. We're gonna go to the book of First Kings, chapter 20. Salakia, yeah, I think that's what I want. First Kings, chapter 22 and 19. Just to prove that it's order up there. This First Kings, chapter 22 and 19. It says, and he said, hear thou therefore the word of Yahweh. I saw the Lord sitting on his throne, and Salakia. It says, I saw the Lord sitting on his throne, and all the hosts of heaven standing by him, on his right hand and on his left. So you got all the righteous, all the good angels, on the right hand side of the Lord, and then you got all the evil angels and demons on the left hand side of the Lord. They just like up there having counsel. That's all it is. It's not angels disobeying the Lord's word and all of that. That's not what this is talking about. When you go back to Revelation 12 and so like what was that, verse 7? Let's talk about the angels. They coming back, and they gonna be fighting against Esau. They gonna be fighting against the powers that be. That's what that's talking about. Because remember, the dragon in this context, is the revised Roman Empire, which is America. But ultimately, is the nation of Esau. The so-called Edomites. The so-called white man. You know. So back to Revelation 12 and 7, it says, and there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels. Meaning what? It's gonna be a bunch of chariots in the sky. Michael and all the angels. When they crack the sky with Yahweh Shai and all that. And then what? You gonna have Esau and his fighter jets and all the armies. You got the armies of Russia, you got the armies of America and all of that. All these different armies. And that's what it's gonna be. That's what it's talking about, a war in heaven. You got the chariots, they blasting against all the fighter jets and all that. The fighter jets trying to shoot the chariots, but they seeing that they technology can't compete with the chariots because you can't come up against the wisdom of the Lord and all of that. Let's go to the book of Daniel, chapter 12. This is the book of Daniel, chapter 12, and verse 1. Right? And a lot of people there read that verse. They read that verse in Revelation 12 and 7 and thinking it's talking about the angels rebelling, and then you got Michael and all that, and then one of the spiritual demons, Satan, he come up with a damn Tommy gun and he get the shooting at the Most High and all that, and then Most High kind of do the Matrix and all that. That's not what's going on up there, man. There's order up there in the heavens. Everything. Hey, if the Most High created everything, He has control of everything. Hey, it says in James 2 and 19 that the devils tremble before the Most High, man. It says the same thing in the book of Sirach, I believe. So let's go to the book of Daniel, chapter 12 and verse 1. It says, "And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that is found written in the book," right? So it says Michael, the great prince, man, the archangel Michael, man. He gonna stand up for our people, man. He gonna be out there fighting for our people, man. Fighting against the powers that be at this time. And that's the time of Jacob's trouble. Let's go back to Revelation. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 12, verse 8. It says, "And prevailed not, neither was there a place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent, called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him." Hey, that's talking about the so-called white man being taken out of power, man. He's gonna be taken out of power. He's gonna be cast out. Let's go to the book of Isaiah. Let's go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 14 and verse 12. Right? It says, I'm gonna start at 11. It says, "Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vows. The worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations?" And let's talk about the so-called white man. Because he's going to be taken out of power. Right now, he's in power. Job 9:24 says the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. You look anywhere. You look on the news and all this. Who's running the earth? Who's wreaking havoc upon the earth, man? Who's the one constantly, invading countries, establishing his philosophies, and improving his rulership upon these countries and all of that. Who's doing all this other than the so-called white man, man? A lot of people, they try to say Esau is the Arabs, but you don't see the Arabs running every country. You see a so-called white man running every country, man. So, Salakia, let's go back to Revelation chapter 12. And I'm gonna read verse 9 again. It says, "And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan." So why does it say that old serpent? It says that old serpent because this is that same spirit that was in the Garden of Eden that caused Adam and Eve to fall off, man. That caused Adam and Eve to transgress. So let's go to that real quick. Let's go to the book of Genesis chapter 3. This is Genesis chapter 3 and I'm going to start at verse 1. It says, "Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field, which the Lord Yahweh had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, have God said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden." So it said the serpent was more subtle than every beast of the field. Who's the most subtle man upon the earth, man? Who comes and deceives you with all his philosophies? Who tries to sound like, they want peace and all this, but really causing all the war on the earth, man. Who goes to all of these different countries, talking about they there for the Peace Corps and all of that, they there to extend a helping hand and all of that to these other countries. But really they there for the opioids, man. They really there for the gold. They really there to take their guns, and they oil and the drugs, man. Who is that? Who is that other than the so-called white man, man? He's the most subtle beast of the field. And the field is the world, pertaining to Matthew the 13th chapter, man. You know, it says, I'm gonna jump down this Genesis chapter 3 and verse like yeah, 15. It says, and I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. You know, and let's talk about enmity between what, the nation of Israel and the Edomites, man. You know, that's what this is talking about. You know, hey, Jacob and Esau came out the womb fighting, man. That's enmity. You know, between the two seeds. Salakia, let's go back to the book of Revelation. Oh, Salakia, no, let me go to the book of Daniel. No, Salakia, Ezekiel is what I meant. We're going to go to the book of Ezekiel. I believe I want chapter 28, right? And verse, I'm going to just start from 2. It says, yeah, this is Ezekiel 28 and 2. It says, Son of man, say unto the prince of Tyrus, thus saith Yahweh, because thine heart is lifted up, and thou hast said, I am a God, I sit in the seat of God, in the midst of the seas, yet thou art a man, and not God, though thou set thine heart as the heart of God. So who goes around upon the earth, setting their heart as God, saying, proclaiming that they're the God on this earth? Who goes around and does that other than the so-called white man? He proves with his technology, his medicines and all of that, which is all witchcraft. He tries to make these other nations and all the people believe that he is God. That he's the one that could cause these miracles upon the earth. That he's the one that could rain down fire upon the earth from the heavens, man. With his nuclear bombs and with his droid airplanes and all of that, man. He proves that he could do these things. He believes that he's God, man. He painted God. You type in God on Google right now, and it's the so-called white images come up, man. In his heart, he's God, man. So the Lord is going to destroy them for that. I'm going to jump down to verse 13. It says, I'm going to jump down to verse 13. It says, Thou hast been in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone was thy covering, the sardius, topaz, and the diamond, the beryl, the onyx, and the jasper, the sapphire, the emerald, and the carbuncle, and gold. The workmanship of thy tabrets and of thy pipes was prepared in thee in the day that thou was created. Thou art the anointed cherub that covereth, and I have set thee so. Thou was upon the holy mountain of God. Thou hast walked up and down in the midst of the stones of fire. And let's talk about the so-called white man, man. He was in Eden, that same spirit. That's why he's called that old serpent. That deceiver, man. So let's go back to the book of Revelation, chapter 12. Revelation chapter 12 and verse 10, right? It says, And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, Now is come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our God and the power of his Hamashiach. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. Cause they always trying to accuse us, man. They push the wine to our people. So let me see if I can find this precept. I believe it's in Habakkuk. They push the wine to our people, to get our people drunk, to basically, discover our nakedness, man. To make us naked in front of all the people. I believe that's the book of Habakkuk, if I'm not mistaken. This is the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, and verse 15. It says, Woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink, that putteth the bottle to him. They put the bottle to us on a constant daily basis, man. Hey, you turn on BET. Who's in charge of BET? It's the so-called Jewish man, Amalek. He's in charge of BET, but it's supposed to be black entertainment television, man. And what all they put on these? They know what channels we watch. You go to BET. All you seeing is drug dealers. All you seeing is damn prostitutes and hoes and all that. Hey, that's them pushing that wine on us, man. That's them pushing those different philosophies on us, pushing those different mindsets on our people to normalize it in our mind. So we go off and dibble and dabble into those same lifestyles, man. And then they be like, and then that's pushing the wine to us, and that's accusing us basically. That's accusing us because once we start doing that, he gonna be like, see what they doing now, see what they doing. This your chosen people. This is your chosen people. You see what they doing. Like it says in Lamentations, they laugh and clap their hands at us, man. They be mocking us. Talk about look what they doing. These God chosen people. This is the joy of the whole earth right here. You know, hey, that's accusing us, man. Let me read that again. This is Habakkuk 2:15. It says, "Woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink, that putteth thy bottle to him, and makest him drunken also, that thou mayest look on their nakedness," man. Hey, you putting a bottle to him to look on his nakedness. Hey, that's off, man. That's why the Lord said this. Like this is the book of Lamentations, chapter 4. This is the book of Lamentations, chapter 4, and verse 21. It says, "Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwellest in the land of Uz. The cup also shall pass through unto thee. Thou shalt be drunken and shalt make thyself naked. The punishment of thine iniquity." So like it, yeah, that was it on that. Oh no, that's more. It says, "The punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion. He will no more carry thee away into captivity. He will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom. He will discover thy sins." Right. So hey, the Lord gonna make them. The Lord gonna make them uncover their nakedness, man. Like he says, he gonna peel their foreskin back. You know, paraphrasing. Right. So Revelation 12:11. It says, "And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto the death." So we overcame by the blood of Yahweh Shai, man. Let me get a precept on that real quick if I can find it. I believe I'm on First Peter. On First Peter, the second chapter. It might be the first chapter. So like, it's the first chapter and verse. Huh. Yeah, this is the first. How was we how do we overcome by the blood of the Lamb? This is Shalakia, when they do accuse us like that, it said this is the book of First Peter chapter 1, and I'm gonna start at 18. It says, "For as much as ye know that ye were not redeemed with corruptible things, as silver and gold, for your vain conversation, received by tradition from your fathers, but with the precious blood of Hamashiach, as of a lamb without blemish and without spot." Hey, that redeems us right there, man. The Lord, Yahweh Shai going and shedding his blood on the cross for us, man. And that covers us when we do go off, when they do make us naked, man. You know, when we are in sin, because it gives us that grace, you know. And a lot of people, they abuse that grace, especially in the Christian church and all of that, they abuse their grace. They make it like grace is license to sin, but it's not, man. You know, it says, Salaki, it says, this First Peter 1:19, "But with the precious blood of Hamashiach, as of a lamb without blemish and without spot, who verily was ordained before the foundation of the world, but was manifest in these last times for you." Right? It says, "Who by him do believe in God, that raised him up from the dead, and gave him glory, that your faith and hope might be in God. Seeing ye have purified your souls in obeying the truth through the Spirit unto unfeigned love of the brethren, see that ye love one another with a pure heart fervently. Right? So that's how we overcome by the blood, right? So this Revelation 12 and 11 again it says, and they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they love not their love not their lives unto the death. And you got to be in this thing like that, man. You know, you got to love not your life unto the death. Let me get a precept on that. This is the book of Luke. It's the book of Luke, chapter 14. It's like John. It's the book of Luke, chapter 14, and verse 26, right?